Activists surprised members of the California Public Utilities Commission with a green protest at a meeting today in La Jolla.
What do we want? Solar! When do we want it?
Now! Well, the group held cardboard cutouts of solar panels and suns outside the building where the commission held its meeting. A team of environmentalists organized the event to protest the two proposed power plants in Santee. Tomorrow, the commission is expected to vote on SDG&E's request to build the plants.
Local environmentalists weren't invited, but they made sure that their voices were heard today at a private meeting hosted by the California Public Utilities Commission.
What do we want? Solar! When do we want it?
Now!
A variety of environmental groups, including the Sierra Club, called for more solar power and an eventual end of fossil-fueled power plants. They demonstrated outside the Scripps Seaside Forum, where public utilities commissioners met with a private group of stakeholders on the eve of a vote over the future of two proposed peaker plants in the county.
Its blatant purpose is to allow selected individuals to meet with the commissioners to discuss energy policy in a venue and format that deliberately violates California's public meeting laws.
Environmentalists recently filed a lawsuit to stop the private meeting, but a judge ruled Monday he didn't have authority over the matter. Tomorrow, CPUC commissioners will vote on 3 proposed gas-fired plants in the county, including Quail Brush and Pio Pico. That meeting begins at 9 a.m. at the San Diego Operations Center in Kearny Mesa. It will be open to the public, and more demonstrations are planned. On the subject of renewable energy, the California Public Utilities Commission recently reported to the legislature that prices for renewable contracts continued to decline over the past 2 years, and the market is robust and competitive. California is requiring investor-owned utilities like SDG&E to get 33% of their energy from renewables by 2020 in an effort to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to 1990 levels.
Protesters made its voices here in La Jolla today. Heard.
What do we want? Solar! When do we want it?
Now!
California Public Utilities Commission officials were having a closed-door meeting at a Scripps Institute of Oceanography. These protesters say that they showed up because they want the CPUC to deny the proposal to build fossil fuel power plants.
Personally, what matters to me is that my son has a prosperous future and a healthy place to live, because nobody can escape this. This is not about where they put a power plant. It's any of these power plants. Nobody can escape them. The greenhouse gas emissions, the air pollution. This matters to everybody, no matter where you are.
Tomorrow, the group will attend the commission's hearing.
Un grupo de ambientalistas, ellos no están de acuerdo con un proyecto de energía y hoy mostraron su inconformidad.
Hey, hey. Ho, ho.
De esta manera, decenas de ambientalistas, como le decía, con pancartas en mano, se manifestaron en La Jolla contra la construcción de 2 plantas generadoras de electricidad que podrían ser instaladas en el condado de San Diego.
Esta energía sucia pues afecta mucho el cambio climático, y sabemos todos que nos ha estado afectando mucho. Sabemos que aquí estamos cerca de la playa porque sabemos que se estima que en 50 años esta parte ya ni va a existir.
La Comisión de Servicios Públicos de California decidirá este jueves el futuro del proyecto.
An invitation-only meeting with state public utility commissioners in La Jolla generated a small group of protesters. It comes one day before the commission considers a vote on 3 new power plants in San Diego. The agency held a private meeting at Scripps Institution of Oceanography today, where organizers say it's simply to gather community input, but some individuals and community groups who wanted to attend were not allowed, so they gathered outside on the beach.
80% of climate change is caused by the burning of fossil fuels. And what's being proposed are brand new fossil fuel power plants. It just doesn't make sense. We are on a pathway to mitigate climate change, to try to stave it off, the negative impacts. So to build new power plants in this day and age with the modern technology that we have, it doesn't add up.
The environmental groups say San Diego should focus on clean, renewable energy to create more jobs and shift away from the old power model to using more smart grid technology. Peggy Pico has more on tomorrow's vote.
The California Public Utilities Commission will vote tomorrow on whether to allow 2 new gas-powered energy plants to be built and 1 plant upgraded in San Diego County. There's been wide opposition to these so-called peaker plants, and tomorrow's decision will determine if SDG&E can move forward on the plants. Joining me with more is my guest, Bill Powers, a utility and energy engineer and an expert witness for the gas turbine proceeding currently before the CPUC. Thanks, Bill, for joining us. The decision tomorrow is somewhat limited by the CPUC. What will they exactly be deciding?
What they'll decide tomorrow is that the original applications were for a 2014 start date. The Commission has determined that there's no possible need before at least 2018, and they will decide to deny these applications but allow SDG&E to come back almost immediately with an amended application where the turbines start in 2018 or the contracts start in 2018.
And these are contracts for what we're calling, or what is called, peaker plants. Tell us what peaker plants are and how they're used.
Peaker plants are intended, they consist of a gas turbine like on a jet engine connected to an electric generator. They're generally used during peak heat waves in summer to fill in, providing additional power to what the baseload plants cannot supply.
And they call them peaker plants because they're supposed to be used as a backup during peak times,
exactly.
Correct? Okay. Now, the San Diego City Council said no to the Quail Brush peaker plant proposal due to some environmental impact. Where are these other 2 plants that are being proposed? Where are they going to be?
One is in Escondido. It's relatively small. It's an upgrade from an existing plant that will likely go forward. Separate from Quail Brush that you mentioned, Pio Pico is on the border next to an existing large plant, the Otay Mesa plant.
Right, and the Quail Brush, just to be clear, was near the Mission Trails Park,
right.
And that
Quail
was
Brush
sort of the environmental impact that had some issue, and we'll get back to that. I do want to talk about, you're an expert witness at the proceedings, CPUC proceedings, and you oppose all 3 of these plans, proposed plans, correct?
Correct.
Okay, how come?
There's no need for these plants, and that was the testimony in the proceeding. The Commission, using the most conservative approach, was able to see or present a possible need in 2018, 5 years out. But there were several parts to that, including shutting down existing power plants here in San Diego that are perfectly functional, that would have to be shut down to even show that need 5 years out.
So not needed. Now, Clean Tech San Diego, it's a local group that supports alternative and renewable energy, according to their definition. They refused to join us for this interview, but their executive director, Jim Warning, told KPBS yesterday why we need peaker plants.
Based upon existing technologies, you cannot have deployment of renewables without having peaker plants. So that's a given. 99% of people would agree with that statement. The variable is, well, okay, what does that really mean now? Where should the peaker plants be located? Should they be in close like a Quail Brush, or can we do it from a remote location? And how should they be owned? And how can they be built so that they don't become such a burden on ratepayers because of the expense of building these things? But yes, a part of having a renewable portfolio to avoid brownouts and blackouts is to have on-demand capacity.
Now, that was Jim Waring. He was basically talking about that we need them for brownouts and blackouts, and as you heard, he also talked about that he wanted to see if it wasn't a burden on, the ratepayers. What's your response?
My response is I do agree with Jim that it would be a major burden on ratepayers. I disagree that these are needed to avoid brownouts and blackouts. One of what has gone on in the last decade in California is a tremendous building boom of gas plants. We have overbuilt our gas plant inventory. We have tremendous reserves of power, even without San Onofre, because of this overbuilding. Including in San Diego County, we have hundreds and hundreds of megawatts of these plants. So the plants that we need for renewable energy are already built. They're already here. We do not need to be building additional plants.
Okay, your solution to renewable or long-term reliable energy sources for San Diego County?
The solution is, as I was saying, we've already built an entire conventional gas-fired infrastructure. That's our backup. We can bring in as much renewable energy in the form of rooftop solar, do smart energy efficiency, and we have the resources already in place.
Already there, so we are out of time. Bill Powers, thank you very much. I want to let folks know that the CPUC Commission meeting is open to the public. That's tomorrow, Thursday, the 21st. It'll be at the County Operations Center on Overland Avenue, and the public is welcome there.